This is The Right Connection. This podcast is designed to help you choose the right words and stories in your business content to create authentic connections with prospects, clients, partners, and colleagues. Now the host of The Right Connection, Catherine Burrows.
Thanks, Carl, and welcome to Darlene Turriff. I'm happy to chat with you today as a fellow member of When Global and a fellow collaborator on the book Emerge. Welcome.
Thank you, Catherine. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm so excited to share a little bit of what's got me here and where I'm going.
So you are an author, award-winning author, by the way. Congratulations. Coach and motivational speaker. But your journey actually started with your health. Do you want to?
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. And I fell into coaching accidentally, which is a part of my story. But for almost 20 years, I suffered with autoimmune disease. But for me, it was a mystery illness. It was not diagnosed. So it was like chronic fatigue, 24/7 migraines, all kinds of symptoms that honestly left me bedridden and unable to work. I found a solution with a diet. It's a protocol, the autoimmune protocol, and that got me on the right track, but it didn't get me all the way. And so I spent the next 2 or 3 years, this was about 8 years ago, 2 or 3 years doing a step-by-step process to really regain my health. And I'm so thankful that it happened. My illness happened because it gave me that opportunity to do a full healing, not only of my body, but of my life. And it's 8 years now. I am extremely healthy, and I've been just checking boxes off my wish list. And one of them was to become an author.
Yeah. Well, for those who are just listening and can't see the video, Darlene looks lovely. Her skin looks beautifully radiant. Her eyes are sparkling. She looks very vibrant and full of life. So what a wonderful transformation. And you went on to write about that experience.
I did. I wrote the book called Mastering the Protocol. So the AIP protocol and other protocols, when I finally did my research, there are certain foods that trigger an autoimmune response. So a protocol is, although people refer to it as a diet, it's actually a process of identifying what's triggering your autoimmune response. So what I discovered that the diet was only a portion of it. So that's why I wrote the book called Mastering the Protocol. I wanted people to know the diet, but understand the other factors that are also triggering. And the protocol is actually about all those things, not only the diet, all the other factors. So my book is mostly devoted to the step-by-step process to slowly take one trigger or one stressor out of your life 1 month at a time.
And what are some of those triggers, just to give us an example?
So for me personally, I'll speak for me. Like today on the recording, it is like -40 here. So cold is a trigger for me, but so is heat. I can't do heat and humidity. Now those are triggers I cannot totally control, but when I'm fully aware of them, I have my own protocol of how to be more gentle. But other triggers for me was definitely emotional triggers. So I needed to reduce all my emotional stressors. And that meant I saw a therapist, but mostly I just decided, that I needed to stop living for the other people and start living for me. So I have all this thing that I call the autoimmune identity. And part of what I've discovered, because I've been coaching other women through their own autoimmune healing for 3 years now, is there are some factors that are true for all of us. And one of these autoimmune identity is that we tend to sacrifice. And I help women and myself learn about serving as opposed to sacrificing. And that is really about how you come at what you do. How to use your time, money, and energy by learning how to put yourself first. Anything that comes after that is service. When you put your service before yourself, then it's sacrifice.
Right. And that's applicable to life in general, but specifically to being an entrepreneur.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And that's where, I discovered it's like, oh, this is not just about autoimmune healing. So it was like a way of life. And that's what kind of opened up. So once I did that healing and some people asked me, it's like, well, can you help me get what you, but that's how I kind of tippy-toed into the coaching. But I also did something else that my heart was calling. So that service is about following your purpose and your calling. And we purchased a cottage and we renovated that for vacation rental. I didn't know why it was important to me, but I knew it was something I really, really wanted to do. So that was kind of the first thing I did after I got well enough. It was my testing ground to see, can I put myself back out there in the world? Can I move into the workforce? Because prior to that, every time I tried to work, I would have a relapse and I would get all my symptoms would come back. But anyhow, so that was one of my services. I learned to put this project first, and it taught me so many things about entrepreneurship. And I moved that ahead with my autoimmune coaching, and now I'm taking that further with business coaching.
Right. So you have recently made a bit of a shift in your business and taken on a business partner.
Yes, I would love to talk about that. So if we go back to just a little bit of the triggers, I am way past triggers for autoimmune, and I am into how can I make my life really great. And one of the ways to really enjoy more of my life was to find a partner. So she and I are there to support each other when we're having an off day or whatever. We can pick up the slack. So Nicole Washburn, who is a ghostwriter, copywriter, and author in her own right. So she's basically another you, Catherine. She solely focuses on, she's devoted her last 3 years to writing copy for entrepreneurs. So she's ended up with her own niche that she stumbled into, and she's really great at it. And so she and I together have created this membership. So when we looked at ourselves, we identify as turtles. We identify as entrepreneurs who are making progress, but we really don't respond well to intensity. and a lot of the things being offered out there for entrepreneurs are about intensity, like get this done now, or anyhow, it's just, we weren't finding the thing we wanted out there. So we said, well, what can we do? And I ended up coaching Nicole around finishing her own book. And as you and I both know, because of the book Emerge, I also worked with Steve and Jane to be certified in deep thought strategy. So I've had this passion about helping entrepreneurs find their message and develop their content. So we just took all that and it's like, hey, why we could do something here. We need to help the other turtles out there. And so that's where we came up with this idea of our membership, which is called Get Content Confident. And it's about just creating a space of accountability. We offer the bit of structure, like all the outlines and things that you need if you want that. But we offer that community, that writing community, not only for writing books or big pieces of work, but writing those really tiny pieces of work. So if you need to write a post or 4 posts for the month, that's kind of what our niche is.
So what benefits did you see to your business from your book that you're now trying to pass along to your clients with Nicole?
Again, I learned a bunch of lessons in healing my autoimmune, but the lessons I learned by writing a book. Again, I did it like this much for a business reason. I mostly wrote my book because I was drawn to write it. It was my calling. And definitely I wanted people trying to heal their autoimmune to know these things and make it so affordable to them. And what happened once I wrote the book is that I discovered, oh my goodness, this has made my business so easy. So some of the lessons I learned around that was I had to make the time to write the book. Like writing a book is not the most obvious thing, and it's a long process. So I had to make time to do that. But what are the benefits to having a book out there is it speaks for you. It speaks for your business. It gets you opportunities like this discussion and being invited to talk more. But I think even greater for me is that there are people out there that couldn't afford to work with me, that now have something in their hands to move them forward. So it is, in my opinion, one of the greatest things you can do for your business to have these billboard pieces of content. That's what my partner has named them, billboard pieces, where you're not talking about your stuff is talking for you. And a book is like the master class. It's your top level of authority that you can create.
So you're really creating a legacy that can be experienced by far more people than you could possibly help, because of course we're all human. We only have so many hours in the day and days in the week, so we can only work with so many people.
I love that. Yes, it's a legacy. I hadn't thought of it. For me, I just think about impact, right? And what I love, so my billboard banner on my Facebook is about creating impact one small step or one simple step at a time. And that is why I like a book, especially for someone with autoimmune or fatigue. And this works also for entrepreneurs, is that you can read one chapter, you can read 1/3 of one chapter, stop there and take action on that one thing. That's my greatest thing I've discovered, is I really help people go, no, you don't need to do the whole thing. You need to be really crystal clear on your next thing. And that is how Nicole and I, that's my role in our membership. I help people know exactly which piece of content they're supposed to be creating next. And she makes it, sing or have magic. So the name of her book is called Copywriting Magic. So she just brings some magic to the words. But to make progress like a turtle is, you need to be working on something that's going to grow your business every day, every week, every month. And that's aside from all those urgent things and the important things. That you have to just create this niche of time to work on that too. Because that thing we just talked about, that the benefit or the big win of just having this thing out there working for you is so huge. So it's worth it, whether it's 20 minutes a day or an hour a week. I honestly wrote my book in an hour a week. Like, that's how it got done.
And you just make that commitment and you put it on your calendar, I'm guessing, and you hold yourself accountable to that.
I do. And that's where I'd already done the work of sacrifice and service. Because when I make a commitment to myself, I don't go, okay, well, I'm too busy. This is more important. I don't do that. And as an entrepreneur, I think is one of the biggest skills you need to learn, is to stop pushing things that are really important and going to grow your business to the side. You really have to make the room to have these pieces that are going to then make your life easier down the road get created. They get created in those daily commitments, not in a big vision statement or a big goal statement. It actually shows up in your daily calendar.
Right. And I guess that's the balance between the time you spend working in your business and the time you spend working on your business, and you have to schedule time for both.
You do, yeah. And that's why, again, so if I can just bring up the membership, it's that accountability we create. And the membership is a 1 hour commitment a week, which is what I use to move my business forward. So we really didn't want to download a ton of info to people. We want to help them create one piece of content a month, like something that's really going to move their business forward. And that's them working on their business.
And often I find once you do something, whether it's writing or otherwise, it's easier to do it the next time and the next time. And then you create processes where it really becomes repeatable.
Yeah, so we say that's the structure we provide. Now, yeah, what I'm talking about is what we do for entrepreneurs. Nicole and I also have opened up a more exclusive offering that includes a writer's circle. So it's we call this for our influencers. So these are people that are actually currently writing some significant piece of work, and for that, it's more about those structures. So we have just a 75-minute call just a week, and that's only for writing on top of everything else we help them accomplish. But we find that window, and the people that have never done that for themselves so appreciate that, just over an hour a week that we do that, because then they do it the next day and they do it, like it's so much easier. Like you said, once you get that rolling, that it's that habit, it's the same habit that you heal with. The writing habits or the creative habits are of true benefit to your soul and your business.
It's great that you're providing that coaching and mentorship and accountability to that community of writers, for sure, because I think there's a lot of people out there that need that. And I mean, I tend to work with people who want me to just write it for them, which doesn't mean you don't get away with doing no work, by the way. I still need content to work from. So, but it is a different style of interacting with clients, for sure.
Yeah, and that's the beauty about Nicole, is that she does like you. So she does that ghostwriting. She does all those other levels, but it was so important to us that we didn't feel us turtles were being served. And we created this offer immediately after her book was published. Like, so even that's what she does. She's a professional in it. She had all the same struggles of making it to publish. There's a lot of different skills and mindsets you need to go from, I don't even have an outline, to, buy my book here. It's
yes. Yes.
And honestly, you don't want to do it alone. You do not want to do it alone. Yeah, Nicole was my book coach and I was her content coach or her book coach. And yeah, it was just that our experience together doing that, we said, hey, we're both bringing something to the table that people need both these things to complete a book, and not just what I do, which is content development and the implementation, but they also need all her guidance on creativity and copy and, all that stuff. And so we're in love with this new thing. And, if you have a calling to write a book, you should be doing that. If you have a business, you really need to consider a book as your stretch goal, because you have this unique intellectual property, and a book is a fabulous tool for your business.
I 100% agree with you. And the thing that I really love about books is we can keep going back to them. If you read a book today or, this week, this month, whatever it is, and it resonates with you in a certain way at a certain stage in your business, if you read that book again 5 years from now, you're going to get different things out of it, hopefully deeper things out of it, because you've done that growth in the meantime. So you perceive different things when you go back through that content.
Yeah, and I won't say 5 years. I'm addicted to books, right? And I'll re-listen to, like, I mostly live with audiobooks, so I'll buy the Audibles version first. And yeah, so usually by the first 20 pages, like, oh yeah, I need to order it. So then I order the hard copy. So anything I need to scratch up, as they say, I get that. But mostly because I like to listen while I'm doing something else. So my first choice is Audibles, but then I have a really nasty collection of hard copies as well.
Well, and that's a great way to get the chance to absorb content like Darlene's book, Mastering the Protocol. You could be listening to that while you're cooking your dinner, or, you could be listening to it while you're washing the dishes or going for a walk. So it's a great way to add an additional pocket in your day that you can get more book time in.
Yes, and yeah, all the best business coaches recommend, you have to put learning in your cycle. So yeah, that's one of the things. Habit stacking is something I definitely teach in both my autoimmune and in entrepreneurship coaching. But yeah, I just love the concept of stacking. It's I try, if I can do two things at the same time, life is good for me.
Well, and it's a good cue because you're not going to forget to eat. So, if you're always listening to something, maybe it's not every night, but, every Friday night while you make dinner, you're listening to something. Then as soon as you go into the kitchen to start cooking, that's your cue to, oh, what am I going to listen to tonight? Oh, I'm on chapter 3 of Darlene's book. Okay, I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's our choice to move forward in our business is really that it's a choice. We all are kind of have the same time, money, energy issue, right? We get to decide where we're going to put our time, money, and energy. And for me, it's really, really important that all my clients, and hopefully your listeners, identify one thing in there that is about progress. So working on the business, right? It's that the progress has been so important to my healing. The managing doesn't get you anywhere. Managing doesn't get you anywhere. Progress needs to be planned.
Yeah, and I think part of that planning involves thinking about our stories, the story where we've come from, in how we got to doing this business and where we are today, and the stories that we want to tell and put out there to connect with people and reach our clients.
Yeah, and I think that's where, if I can send some praise, I think, Catherine, you are an amazing storyteller, and you also recognize stories for other people and you pull them out of them. And I do not identify as a great storyteller. I'm kind of a systems person. So my books, like, right now, I am working on the sequel to Mastering the Protocol. It's called The Autoimmune Identity Solution. So that's where I get more in depth about those identities that we take on, and that we have to grieve once we decided we're sick. We have to grieve that to decide we're well. And I move into all that. For me, that vision, I can see the whole outline. A book is already written in my head before I begin. And I think most people have a struggle with what are they going to write. My struggle, the last thing I do in my book is put in the stories. So it's, we all have our own gifts. And even if you don't feel writing is your gift, that's why it's so important to work with someone. I believe that writing a book or writing an article or good content or a chapter in a compilation book, no one is really gifted with all the skills to make it through the whole process. It's you, like, if you were creative, maybe you don't have the sense of where you're going, or maybe you're unable to edit your own work. Like, there's just too many things that require a different set of skills going through. So for me, storytelling, I so value it, and I can recognize someone else's. Whoa, stop! That's an amazing story. Let's see what kind of content we can create around that. And I am lousy at finding my story, so it's really the last thing I put in the book, and I always work with someone to help me find the right story.
Well, speaking of systems and bringing us back to your identifying with the turtle group, let's start small. You've got a wonderful offer here today for people who want just one thing that they can start with on their writing. Can you talk about your freebie magic offer?
Absolutely. So again, I always love being a guest on podcasts, mostly because I can offer something to get people going. So, we've talked about, is your freebie really working for you, or is it a floppy? Is it a freebie or a floppy? And freebie magic is, it's a PDF, and we're just going to give you some things to really consider if you've not created a good freebie yet, or if you have a freebie and it's not working for you. So we'd love for you to get that PDF, and then we should have a link there. You can join. We have a Facebook group in which we have a video training for how to do that, where we get to talk about all the other things a freebie should be doing. And the content, we're big fans of having the exact right wording in the content, and mostly every experience with your ideal client or any potential client really needs to help them move forward on one thing. And that is also a freebie. It's not enough to just give something away. Is it helpful?
Exactly, because we do want to provide value. And that's, all about telling our stories and leaving our legacy. We're doing it to provide value to others.
I just want to make people's lives easier. That's, whether it be with their content or their healing. Like that's a passion of mine, because I have an ability to see the small step that's easy, that's going to make a big difference. And that's all we can ever do is the small step.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest today on The Right Connection. It's always a pleasure to connect with other people who love writing and love stories and are entrepreneurs and part of the communities, networking communities that I'm in, and you fit all of those boxes. So it was extra awesome to have you here today.
Super. And I, as always, I'm looking forward to your next book, Catherine. So I'm always at making sure people are writing if that's their special gift, and we know it is yours.
Yes, I definitely have something in the works. So stay tuned later in 2022. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope something in today's episode inspired you to tell your own story more creatively. Please join me next time for more about how authentic words and stories create the right connection.
Thanks for listening to The Right Connection. What did you think of the show today? Give us a rating and leave us a comment. If you have a question for Catherine, reach out to her by sending her an email, therightconnection@catherineburrowscreative.com, or visit her website, catherineburrowscreative.com. And don't forget to follow Catherine on social media. Thanks again for listening to The Right Connection.